clarity, but yeah, what's the initial thoughts?
Yeah, it's one that we're really mindful of not making any big statements around because we don't know. We won't know until he has, but he'll definitely go in for a scan. So it was, it was enough of a concern that we had to sub him out. And without going into any more detail, it's going to be a scan and our fingers are crossed.
How's he feeling?
Haven't seen him as yet. Haven't seen him. Yeah, I'd say he'd be pretty disappointed, as you can imagine. But yeah, we'll hope for the best and we'll think positive thoughts.
What pleased you most about today?
Oh, I felt like the toughness we showed to turn it around. You know, if you looked at the 10-minute mark of the second quarter, and anyone who's watching the game, I think saying, well, this is over. Melbourne had been outstanding to that point. They owned the game. They had momentum. It's the first time this year, really, we'd had multiple goals kicked on, I think 4, 5, maybe 6 in a row. And if they'd kicked straight in the first, we would have been in a lot more trouble. But we felt like the toughness our players showed in that second quarter, at that 10-minute mark to turn it around. We made a few adjustments. Our guys executed it on field. It didn't necessarily mean the game was back on our terms, but it slowed momentum. We were just so pleased that they were able to do that. And then, you know, when we got a halftime break and to watch our coaches go to work in that break and actually provide the clarity for our group on what it was we needed to fix, it was really pleasing. So, you know, you finish games like that and you've got to win different ways. So from our point of view, it's a really positive win for the footy club.
How much of a talking point was uncontested marks that they were getting at halftime?
Yeah, well, that was the main one. It's one thing to know what you're not quite getting right or where your opposition are beating you, and another thing to actually be able to adjust it and change it. So as I said, for our players to do that during a quarter, great result. But then to go to another level with that in the third quarter and actually get the game back onto our terms, I thought it's still a great game of footy, a good battle in that second half, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same game as we saw in the first half, where our opposition were far too good for us. And so in the end, it came down to the wire, we felt like we had most of the play in that second half.
So just to clarify, with that turnaround midway through the second quarter, did you do anything, or did you notice your players change things on
well,
the goals?
Both.
Yeah.
No, I think it was both. When you say we as a coaching group, it was both. It was players in game and it was coaches in the break. And it's what we talk as coaches all the time. Our players win games of footy and they're out there doing it on the day. But today was one of those ones where you've got to get it right for them at the break and be able to explain it. I thought our guys did a fantastic job. Line coaches, Murray Davis, has come in and helped us out. We were able to sit down and talk through the game, and our players then went out and executed.
How much of some of their uncontested intercept marks in the back 50 was errant kicking, and how much of it was just not getting the ball brought to ground?
Yeah, it looked like the ball was broken for us at a point in that first half. We weren't executing by foot, so I think it was a combination of both that, and that makes it hard when you're unpredictable to your forwards. For whatever reason, we weren't at our best today, and I think most coaches know that that's coming at times. 23 rounds is a long time to stay up, and we've played a really consistent brand right throughout this year. We weren't at our best in the first half, so execution with the ball, like kicking, handballing, decision making, and we became unpredictable to teammates. And we were up against a great opposition, and especially behind the ball. With May was dominating that first half. Lever, we know how good they are as defenders. If you don't get it right and you don't have connection, it's going to be a tough day.
The push and pull between Isaac midfield forward. How did you sort of land today on spending him or having him more up forward than perhaps he has?
Well, thank God he was out there in the first half. He was finishing off his work, and I'm not sure how many he kicked, maybe 3, 4 in the first half. Ended up with 5. And we needed that. you know, we just needed something just to keep us in it. You know, we were lucky they didn't kick straight, and you know, it wasn't without going to an individual. I think we were lucky that Isaac was out there in the first half just to finish off the opportunities he got. It kept us in touch, gave us a chance to sort of turn it around into that second half. In the context of the season, that's a huge win for us. Just with where this season sits, the amount of teams that are fighting for the top 8, you just have to win these games, especially at home. And so, yeah, really pleasing result. And for us to do it another way, you know, we learned a lot from today, and it was a win. It's not us sitting here saying, you know, we've lost, but we learnt. We're actually coming off a win with a great learn.
You've talked so much about process, and yet there you're obviously talking about how big the win is in the context of the season. Are the players sensing that? Are you mentioning that at all about we just have to get the job done today?
No, we don't. We're not going there at all. I can talk it in here and talk about the season. I mean, the reality is the season's into the second half. We know that as a playing group. I'd love to keep them in a week to week and they have no idea where the season's at, but that's never going to happen. They do watch a bit of TV and listen to some of the media, but they've done a really good job of staying in the moment. You talk about you know, what our playing group's been able to do, and some individuals that talk about moments like Dan Curtin in the second half today. He's playing in the moment for a young kid, and he's stepping up in big moments. That's just an example of where we're at. And he'll reset himself and start to look at next week now. So, great sign for us.
How much of it do you think is learnings from last year, not only with keeping in the moment, but in winning some of these games where you're challenged and you're not only able to win them, but you're able to make those changes so quickly and get back in the game?
Well, half-time's an example of it. You know, when we break it down, it wasn't going the way we needed to. Our guys were able to just reset themselves in that moment of half-time and come out and go. Move on from what had been a really poor half. We weren't executing with the ball in hand. We weren't defending the way we know. We weren't transitioning. So the whole lot was in a place that we knew wouldn't get it done for us, and they were able to just reset. It's just another version of what we're doing this season. Resetting every time we play a game, lock them back in on 0-0. Let's go again and get the job done.
Might you have lost that game in years gone by from where you were?
Yeah, there's no doubt we have. You know, over the last 5 years or so, I think most people at the 10-minute mark would have said this game's done. So that's even more pleasing.
Is it nice to win finals so far away still, but, you know, is it nice to get that kind of pressure cooker situation, given that your team doesn't have much finals experience when that comes around?
I think it's a great experience for our group. Yeah, to be in a position where we're vulnerable, unless we're able to show some mental strength, you know, our opposition have all the momentum. I think it's a great position to be in and be able to work through it. We're going to be better for that. That's going to be the remainder of the season. That's every week from this point on. You know, the competition's so tight. And so, yeah, as I said, today was a really good result.
And Ben, was that touched, you reckon? Ben's goal?
To be honest, from where I am, I can't see it that well. You're probably getting a better view on a 4K telly.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.